One of my more common questions is, who are my guides? What do they look like? How do I talk to them? How do I hear them? What are guides? So I thought I would sum it up for you in just a few little bullet points. First of all, guides. So I believe that we have a primary guide. This soul has traveled with us in the past. So in a past life, we would have helped them with the same lesson or piece of the journey in their lifetime that we've now wanted to move through in this lifetime. And so they are uniquely qualified to support and help us, having done the lesson, but having walked alongside our soul's journey. And they are here from before we get here until after we leave. They are here for the whole journey. And this is what I refer to as our primary guide. They just love. They are excited about the journey and the learning and the experience. I believe our guides have agreed to bring us the lessons that we have asked for, what we want to learn and experience, whatever our love story or healing story is. And so we've charged them with this task, and they do keep helping us even when we sometimes go, oh, can I please just change the story? Can I do something else? We've obviously already requested this. What we can change, or what we have a lot of power over, is our path, how we learn our lessons, how easily we pay attention to them, how willing we are to take responsibility or to actively look into, if this is for me, not at me, what is there for me to learn, things like that. And our guides can make it easier. So always asking for healing and support, even if we've had to have the 5th or 6th version and it's feeling a bit hard or a bit rough. But primarily our guides just love. They love looking after us. They love watching this journey. They really celebrate how we learn and when we learn and when we don't learn, like the preciousness of the human experience here. And for me, being a successful human is not about what you achieve in this world. It's about how much you experience in this world, that your feelings and ideas and interactions and fears and growth and learning, every step you take on this path of existing, of learning, of failing, of trying, of feeling emotional, of being resistant, of feeling community and feeling isolation, and every piece of humanity in between. Being successful is having these experiences. So every footstep and every moment of time in our life makes us successful at being a human. And we have many avoidance tactics and techniques, but mostly it's just really passionate and exciting and interesting and sometimes horribly emotionally painful, many things. And they celebrate this. So when we are feeling at our lowest and we're feeling like we can't go on or it's too hard or why can't it be easier, when we're at this moment where it just feels like we want to change our mind on this lesson, this is when they power in the most love, because they know we're about to hit something or learn something. So I feel like our human, our societal reflection on this is when our guides desert us. Or a lot of people say to me, oh, my angel must have charred wings by now. Very tired, my angel. And I think it's the opposite. I think it is these places where we feel the most. And every person who ever looks back on their trauma moments or their revelation moments always look back as a new person. They create change in us. And so they are very exciting for us and our guides and our ancestors. And so we have our primary guide, supporting, loving, healing, holding space. Always ask for support, ask for more, ask for help, ask for connection. They love helping us. But I use the word guides in the plural most of the time. And so our guides are anybody who will guide us in the real world, in the physical. This may be mentors, it may be idols we see on television or read about. It may be the neighbor, maybe your mother or father, watching people move through life and having them guide you. And in physical form, our guides will most likely be guiding with leadership, telling us about their story or their experience or their learning, guiding our way, warning of pitfalls, giving us some great tools and tips. But on the other side, our loved ones in spirit also guide us. And my most treasured awareness of this aspect was actually when I realized that a grandmother that I had never met was guiding and supporting and loving me. And a great grandmother for my daughter, different grandmother, was guiding and supporting her. And we had never met these women. So then we look back at our mothers' mothers and their mothers and their mothers, right back through time, our father's father, his father, right back through time. And we see how many ancestors are waiting to support and love us. And of course, for them to be given access to us, it must be cleared by your guide. So we must assume that they are evolved souls or have something to offer or guide for this piece of a lesson if they're given permission to engage. And although they're not all standing there, obviously, if you look at reincarnation, you'll see that some souls are back in body. But knowing that all of the family are behind you and your guide. And then other guides may come through on your journey. There may be a piece of your journey that is about love or loss or learning that another guide, another soul that you have engaged in with has learnt the energy format already, has had that experience, so they can walk alongside you and you're almost drawn into the energy. You learn almost psychically as you're guided into these scenarios. Or on the ground practical guides, where you might be in a foreign country and ask for language or support, and a guide from that country will come and you will have much clearer understanding. Fluidity of language, possible, but definitely much more understanding. They can help with the translation. Lots of beautiful, useful things like that. And it has got me out of a couple of spots overseas when lost as well. And then, what do our guides look like? Now, for me, this is one of the most fun concepts that they've shared with me over time. And that is that they don't have a specific look. If you have the pleasure of meeting a loved one in spirit and they passed away at, say, 60, when they come to see you, they may meet you physically looking like they're 40 or 50. They tend to present in the age that they love the most. And I know that when spirit used to present in different versions, I specifically asked for this, that they presented in loving format with grounded energy. But it's the same concept for our guides. So I would suggest that most of the time your guides would present in the physicality of the lifetime that you were with them, that this lesson was in. However, many, many lifetimes, many bodies, many visages, and much of them you may have spent together. So sometimes your guide will change from one lifetime to another according to which energy they're working with. And I find this really remarkable when you go to markets or various readers over time and they start talking about a guide that looks like this and a guide that looks like that. And sometimes the words are the same, or the energy is the same, and you know it's just another lifetime that they're reflecting through. For my own guide, he certainly presents to me as a certain age and sex and nationality, spiritual leaning, the whole thing. But when I'm moving further back in time and I'm doing something that is the ancient energy or knowledge is needed for, then he presents as the feminine that she was in that lifetime, that I knew her in that lifetime. And although I have no past life memories, when I look at our energy, I can link that further back. So your guide will change, but you will still have a primary version of how they present. And although seeing your guide can be challenging, I certainly haven't seen mine very often. Mine is more of a knowing or an awareness. But having little pieces of that come through can be really useful. Now, you may want to go to a spirit guide drawer and have an artist create a rendition for you. See if you resonate with theirs or 3 or 4 of them. Or mediums or psychics who specialize in talking with guides and know they can explain that they can see them. So many mediums see, right? Sees these are loved ones in spirit. And so they can explain this to you. They can explain what they look like. They can describe. And once you have an idea, that can be much easier for you to visualize, for you to start to filter through your mind the pieces they've given you about what they look like. And I know with my own guide, I was very similar. I had many years ago gone through the journey of speaking to people who did talk to guides specifically and described them to me. And so I had an idea in my head, but I was absolutely dead set on getting a drawing. And all the way there, I could hear my guide, long before, weeks before it was a planned event. My guide was going, "Is this necessary? You don't need this. It's not necessary." And I kept saying that it's not necessary for my development, that it was necessary for my heart, that I needed this, I needed to see, I needed to have what would be a photograph if it was a family member. So we went in and we did the drawing, and the incredibly talented artist really was able to create, to bring him to life on the page, and was even talking through the corrections he was making. And when she'd finished and I walked away, and he asked me, "Was anything here a surprise?" No, not a single piece was a surprise. So I knew what he looked like, but I hadn't seen it. And I still love having a drawing of him. It's like having your grandparents on the wall. You can say hello, goodbye, good night, and have a chat. So I do believe it has really important heart value if that's something that you're guided towards. Now, to see them, to hear them, this is an exercise and it's a long practice. The first time that I started wanting to hear my guides or loved ones in spirit, then I started to open this up and to practice this more, to allow it and to practice listening. And maybe 2 years later, it felt like a sentence. It felt like conversation. So it doesn't take very long in human time. It's obviously not a now event, and that would be quite startling. But it is about practicing receiving information. And that's going to move us quite nicely into, how do I hear my guides? How do we have this communication? So hearing your guides, having a sentence come through your ears, clairaudience, is fairly rare. And as you move up your gift set, obviously you have all the gifts, but having them open. So they need to be opened. Just like being able to see, clairvoyance is actually sight. Being able to see everything, see the movie screen when it plays during a reading, or images of photographs or pictures of people's faces, or witness them smiling and moving, being able to see, clairvoyance. And then clairsentience is knowing. And this is when something comes across your mind like a memory you've never had. So I'm suggesting that there's different ways that they communicate. Many, many different clairs, right? And when they communicate, I prefer communicate to speak, because speaking is an advanced receiving. But when they communicate, they use all of our senses. So you may find that you smell some food and then you move to the cupboard. And while you're looking in the cupboard, your eyes really fixate on something, or it pops or it's bright for you, enough that you grab it. And then you have a memory of somebody. And then you feel like you're associating this item. So you want to get something similar, maybe pack 2 or 3, something's going on. And that there's a topic brewing, right? So I've been given in this example a direct instruction to pick these several dairy-free items from my pantry, have a conversation with the person I was about to visit about options to support her allergy. And I didn't even know it. Her grandmother had popped in and kind of had this not conversation with me while I was getting ready to leave. Dear friend of mine, so within my family sphere, definitely something that I would be providing food for. And it was, but you can see that it wasn't a conversation. It was a series of senses. It was, I wonder what that smell was, that scent that made me think about food. And when I got there, in this case, soy cream, and then my association went to coconut cream and a few other dairy-free items. And yeah, we did have a lovely chat, and then it was over to her if that's what she wanted to do. Her grandmother just wanted support for this, and the rest is none of my business. Yeah, it's her life, her family. Or another example might be that they remind you to pick something up, or they remind you to get something by giving you a memory. So here we're not talking about looking at something or touching or even feeling like you're drawn into, between the creams, something associative. It might just be a memory where, let's see, I went to visit some friends the other day and I had a memory of putting down my pink running shoes in the corner and walking shoes. And I don't know why that memory came up. It just was out of nowhere. And of course, I'm used to paying attention now. And I went, oh, well, that must mean something. So I picked them up, popped them in the car. And sure enough, I got to a place with more friends. And we had the opportunity to go out for a walk together, which I wouldn't have done in dress shoes, boots, or sandals because it's uneven surfaces. Long walk. And my guides definitely want me walking. They need me to have physical health and resilience. But they weren't going to make me. They did not tell me to. But so I had choice when I got there. They let me know that it was going to come by having that memory of something come through my mind. So you can see where this is headed. What we're paying attention to is what is coming to you. Sometimes it's going to be repetition. You may have several people in the same day or week tell you the same thing. Your guides are having a lecture, or an advert that repeats something, and it feels again like it expands or it's brighter. It's like you're directed to pay attention or to bring the energy towards you. You feel it in your body that you want to be engaging with something. Or you may be watching media, television, movies, reading a book, and a concept comes through and you really feel your energy increase. Right? Always a good clue that your intuition is engaged, increased energy. So brighter, louder, increased energy. Or something that holds you still with an awareness. Like you being asked to stop for a moment and contemplate something. See what comes. And so they have lots of ways to do this. But I feel like I have full communication, that I have long sentences and conversations with them now, and sometimes with other people as guides, comes and goes, some ancestors. But I still wouldn't say that I'm hearing a sentence. I'm feeling a sentence. I'm intuiting a sentence. There's definitely enough practice here for me to know when I'm feeling this way or feeling that way, or if something feels important, or even if something comes across as a bit of an awareness point, where it might be I'm about to get into the car and they highlight my keys, for instance, and I'm like, okay, so I'm about to go and they've highlighted my keys. What have I forgotten? It's not that I've forgotten my keys, it's that they've asked me to pause for a moment and check something because keys don't get highlighted unless you've lost them. And yeah, sure enough, there'll be something else that I needed with my day or that I needed to slow down to drive carefully. Could be this. So sometimes when you feel a pause, it's the most remarkable thing to see what comes to your mind, what makes you feel something, or if you take a second to think about your day, which part of your day might pop, and then you still have time to grab that extra item for work or remember to make a transaction before you leave the house, all sorts of useful things. So, how do we communicate with them? Oh, it's pretty easy. They've been with you since you got here. So, they pay attention to your energy and they listen to everything you say. And they're aware of your thoughts. I can't say they stand over you watching you brush your teeth, they're not interested in witnessing or supervising your mundane world, but they are here for you. So all you have to do is think a sentence in your mind and they receive it. Or certainly out loud, you're very welcome to. Writing a journal is also an incredible way for you to have the back and forward. Because when you're writing your thoughts out, you start to find that you answer your own questions or more information comes. And this is when you realize you're writing out a conversation with your guides. So there's many ways that we're going to receive their information, but they receive it every way we want to give it to them. And we never have to second guess about that. Same as our loved ones in spirit, like our ancestors can hear us. I feel that there are a lot of boundaries required with loved ones in spirit. So you may find that you speak their name before you feel their presence, that they're not simply knocking around your house with you because they may not have signed off by your guides. And your guides are there the whole time. Now I know we would love for them to just speak and just tell us, and we would listen and we would do. But there's a lot of stories in our past about crazy people, and there is a fear in our bodies and our DNA about being overwhelmed or overtaken or controlled. So it's quite important that we maintain our free will, and this is why our guides don't tell us what to do, and they don't come to us with full force of voice or feeling, because then we wouldn't have a choice. We would be doing what we were told. And for this reason, it starts very, very softly and very quietly. So you build the muscles and the recognition. So you are choosing to listen and you're choosing to engage. And by the time you get to a point where they go, you don't want to be doing that, you get to go, I'm going to do it anyway. And know that you have choice. Or, yep, totally happy to not do that. You've given me a heads up. I'm just not going. And not feel that you are losing your mind. You know that you've made choice because energetically it's responding in your body. So there are plenty of exercises around this, but the best thing is making time for contemplation, making time for asking these questions, whether you're sitting outside watching the leaves or the sea roll and all the clouds moving, and you just see what comes to you, whether you're journaling and seeing how that conversation goes, whether you're talking with a best friend and seeing what advice flows between you and see which energy lifts for which piece is channeled. But making time to see how you feel and maybe start asking questions. You could ask your guides, do they have any information about your workplace or a family member or a friendship? And then see, do I have emotions moving through me? Are they communicating me through emotional energy? Can I see energy or color? Can I feel energy? Am I having thoughts or memories? Is my body coming up with highlights, tension, relax pieces, heat? Any piece of my body where I'm carrying a piece of tension or hope or awareness about something in our relationship, for instance. Often when we think about a friend or a loved one, when you pay attention to your body, you may be mimicking something in their body that you're holding for them. So do be sure if you find something to really breathe and ground and release it, because we don't need to be carrying somebody else's energy to love them. And then as you get used to feeling how that communication comes in, it'll get faster and stronger more and more often until you get to a point where you feel like you're actually having a conversation with your guides. And they hear you and you hear them. But hear, really feel, really understand what they're sharing with you, because it's all to guide your journey. That is the purpose of their relationship for this short time on earth, that they're here to guide you. And so when you receive that information, you choose whether to be guided or not. But most of the time, I hope you will choose to be guided and process, integrate, or reflect on what you are shared. Have fun. There's no wrong way to do this. And if anything feels uncomfortable, just ask for another version. And if anything feels too quiet or you can't hear, or could you just find another way to listen? Try and feel it, try and read it, try and write it, try and smell it. See what your body and your energy does. And when you find that communication, you can find it the next time. So I hope that brings a little clarity to who are your guides, where are they, what are they, how do I hear them, and how do I talk to them. And all you need to do is make the time to pay attention to how they communicate with you so that you can build your dialogue with them. Hi, I'm Rael, and I'm an energy intuitive. I channel information from our guides and ancestors to help us find empowerment, support, and to be able to really walk in our own heart space and love ourselves. Thank you for spending time with me today. If you want more videos like this or access to my regular energy chats, meditations, and intuitive extension work, please go and have a look at my Patreon account. I have my Just Do You annual subscription available if you want to be doing a course-based version where you can work through your own empowerment and connection to your intuition, should that feel like that's going to be part of the solution for you. You have a year's access to the Just Do You seminar, courses, classes, meditations, extension events, and the energy information and sound bites that come through to me through channel and my own experiences working through energy here.